Rashida Didi points to me and asks her mother with a wicked smile, "Didn't I tell you she's cute?" She looks back at me and says, "Are you looking for a boy? I have some great candidates for you here in Bastar. Just say the word." Rashida Didi works 12 hours a day to keep her business afloat, in an ocean replete with competitors trying to rip apart her sails, bureaucrats refusing to let her pass into uncharted waters. Her shop is bursting at the seams, with the triumph and toil and laughter of girls whose branches are burgeoning exponentially faster than the soil ever thought it would allow. Her shop is bursting at the seams because it is too small to contain the rainforests that are blooming within its walls. "Come over home any time," she tells me, and her girls echo her words. "We will find you some friends in our city." Jamuna's food is far better than anything I can ever dream of cooking, and I tell her that. It tastes of the forests that engulf her husband's fingertips and the rivers that flow through her mother's locks. "And I can teach you," she says. "I hope you like garlic in your food." Jamuna has grown up among several flailing limbs of borrowed modernity from across the globe, stampeding across the land her ancestors knew only as impenetrable wilderness. And then she fell in love. She caught it, held on tight, followed it close, followed it as it led her back into the wilderness that she only knew in her ancestors' dreams. She is unlearning. The forests are no longer a fantasy, a memory, a creature of the past. It is a living, breathing beast, inhaling every step of hers, exhaling her every beat. The forests have wriggled their toes into her home. Her wealth and her subsistence, she is unlearning that to move forward is to move away. "Come over home any time. I've just begun to build mine here." My first glimpse of Urmila is amidst a cascading ocean of textbooks and loose sheets. "I'm about to finish my master's in history," she tells me, with anger seeping through the cracks where I had expected to find only pride. What is the point of an education when work remains in the hands of men who cannot even sign their own names? She does not fight, because it is not her job. It is the job of the panchayat and the state and the researchers that come every year to inquire about the state of women in the village, and every other man in a position of power who only see gender equality as merely 14 letters on a dusty piece of paper, rather than a formidable warrior who's out on the battlefield every hour of every day. It is not her job. To breathe life and vigor and provide a terrestrial body for this warrior, it is not her job. Instead, she nurses her anger quietly, gently, cradling it like a mother to her womb, and tells me, "Come over home any time. It's not like I'll be going anywhere else." I could not believe I was meeting Bhartiji real and in the flesh. There was so much I wanted to ask her. About the justice system, Indian penitentiaries, fake encounters, state repression, state-sponsored violence, state surveillance, she states softly, with a conspiratorial smile. "When the thugs were trying to break into my home, I told them I had 7 dogs guarding me. But what I didn't mention was that 6 of them were puppies." An anathema to the Indian state, a hero to our tribal communities, an open book to media houses across the country, sharing an anecdote about attempted murder and puppies. She tells me about her partner, her favorite food, the prisoner she has acquitted, and the rapist she has failed to convict. Her voice is so soft, it slips off her chin and nuzzles the edges of mine, and yet it reverberates across the hinges of every court and cabinet in the nation. And still she finds the time to tell me, "Come over home any time. I want to make you a meal to go along with that chai."
Welcome to another episode of the Heartwood Podcast. And this is where we're about to really have fun in this one. We've been having fun in the other interviews, but we're about to do it today because I'm sitting up here next with my brother Isaac Carew. So we're co-hosts of the Heartwood Podcast. So he's also going to be leading this. You know, in many ways, I'm not putting you on the spot. I trust your leadership. It's all good. But I'm Dr. Thomas Rashard Easley. We are talking to Fiacro and Ananya, who has joined us today. Hope I pronounced that okay. I got a head nod on that. But the good thing is that these are not just YSC students. They bring to us a wealth of information and talent, I understand. So what I want to do right now, I have questions in front of me, but I just like to check in with Isaac, and then we'll have our beautiful folks also introduce themselves. So what's going on, my friend?
Yeah, so we'll get this one going a little bit differently than usual. As folks who have tuned in know, we love to incorporate the arts into this podcast as much as possible, and lyrics in the broadest sense, and we do happen to have with us two poetically inclined individuals. And so before we get into the intellect of the matter, both of our esteemed guests today have some bars ready for us, have some poems. So just to set the tone, maybe Fiacco, you can get us going with your poem first.
Absolutely. I, however, am not a computer, so I'll have to use my computer to read the poem. So bear with me. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Good job.
So this poem is by a Mexican writer. His name is Octavio Paz. He was a real douchebag, really talented, so I really like him. Both things go really well together. And he was also like the darling of the Mexican totally not dictatorship during most of the 20th century. Really talented guy. Anyway, he was a diplomat also in India, so he went for a time and lived there in Delhi, and that's where he composed this poem with a couple of other friends from India. And the poem is called The Poem of Friendship. It's originally written in Spanish and in Hindi. I'm going to read it in English because that's easier. So, Poem of Friendship. Friendship is a river and a ring. The ring flows through the ring. The ring is an island in the river. The river says, before there was no river. After, only river. Before and after, what erases friendship? Erases it, the river flows and the ring forms. We live between oblivion and memory. This instant is an island fought by relentless time. Friendship erases time and thus frees us. It's a river that, by flowing, invents its rings. In the sand of the river, our tracks are erased. In the sand, we look for the river. Where have you gone? That's a poem. Also, coincidentally, for the viewers, this is a poem I wrote to a friend of us that had to leave us, unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago. She went back to home, and this was a farewell gift from me to her. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was really beautiful. I also have a poem about friendship. This one I wrote when I was working in the forested regions of central India a couple of years ago. And it's just about female friendships that I made while in the field and the people that I would like to remember. I will also be reading from my phone, unfortunately. But yeah, thank you for this chance to share it. So the poem is called Come Over Home. Rashida Didi points to me and asks her mother with a wicked smile, "Didn't I tell you she's cute?" She looks back at me and says, "Are you looking for a boy? I have some great candidates for you here in Bastar. Just say the word." Rashida Didi works 12 hours a day to keep her business afloat, in an ocean replete with competitors trying to rip apart her sails, bureaucrats refusing to let her pass into uncharted waters. Her shop is bursting at the seams, with the triumph and toil and laughter of girls whose branches are burgeoning exponentially faster than the soil ever thought it would allow. Her shop is bursting at the seams because it is too small to contain the rainforests that are blooming within its walls. "Come over home any time," she tells me, and her girls echo her words. "We will find you some friends in our city." Jamuna's food is far better than anything I can ever dream of cooking, and I tell her that. It tastes of the forests that engulf her husband's fingertips and the rivers that flow through her mother's locks. "And I can teach you," she says. "I hope you like garlic in your food." Jamuna has grown up among several flailing limbs of borrowed modernity from across the globe, stampeding across the land her ancestors knew only as impenetrable wilderness. And then she fell in love. She caught it, held on tight, followed it close, followed it as it led her back into the wilderness that she only knew in her ancestors' dreams. She is unlearning. The forests are no longer a fantasy, a memory, a creature of the past. It is a living, breathing beast, inhaling every step of hers, exhaling her every beat. The forests have wriggled their toes into her home, her wealth and her subsistence. She is unlearning that to move forward is to move away. Come over home any time. I've just begun to build mine here. My first glimpse of Urmila is amidst a cascading ocean of textbooks and loose sheets. I'm about to finish my master's in history, she tells me, with anger seeping through the cracks where I had expected to find only pride. What is the point of an education when work remains in the hands of men who cannot even sign their own names? She does not fight, because it is not her job. It is the job of the panchayat and the state and the researchers that come every year to inquire about the state of women in the village, and every other man in a position of power who only see gender equality as merely 14 letters on a dusty piece of paper, rather than a formidable warrior who's out on the battlefield every hour of every day. It is not her job. To breathe life and vigor and provide a terrestrial body for this warrior, it is not her job. Instead, she nurses her anger quietly, gently, cradling it like a mother to her womb, and tells me, come over home anytime. It's not like I'll be going anywhere else. I could not believe I was meeting Bhartiji real and in the flesh. There was so much I wanted to ask her. About the justice system, Indian penitentiaries, fake encounters, state repression, state-sponsored violence, state surveillance, she states softly, with a conspiratorial smile. When the thugs were trying to break into my home, I told them I had 7 dogs guarding me. But what I didn't mention was that 6 of them were puppies. An anathema to the Indian state, a hero to our tribal communities, an open book to media houses across the country, sharing an anecdote about attempted murder and puppies. She tells me about her partner, her favorite food, the prisoner she has acquitted, and the rapist she has failed to convict. Her voice is so soft, it slips off her chin and nuzzles the edges of mine, and yet it reverberates across the hinges of every court and cabinet in the nation. And still she finds the time to tell me, come over home anytime. I want to make you a meal to go along with that chai. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I would ask if you could, I'm hearing about exchanges in your piece, of course, friendship in your piece, and symbolism of water, footprints, things disappearing that's coming together. Just, were there any, I know there are, because you all read them passionately, but just like, are there any points that you, if it's okay, I ask that you would want listeners to pull from or to take or to utilize from what you both have read? Because they're both so endearing, they both deal with humanity, I feel. Among other things, but definitely I see the humanity in it. Is there anything you'd like to take or for me to take from that or use?
Right. Well, I don't know. I think perhaps you have some more close reflection because it's an actual piece that you wrote. On my side, and it will connect to the broader conversation that I'm guessing we'll have later. But I've had many friendships throughout my life, but for many reasons, I think one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn is that friendships also end, and friendships disappear with time, and that's all right. And as you move on through life and you meet new people, you make new friendships, and the past also erases and new things form, and that's all right. Yeah.
It is all right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Well, yeah, I think similarly my piece was a lot about friendships. It was about finding unexpected friendships among unexpected people in landscapes that are tougher than people are usually used to. And I think what I was trying to really say through this poem was just that there are inspiring and wonderful people everywhere, really inspiring friendships to be found, and everyone has their own, of course, this is a cliche, but everyone has their own struggles and their own stories. But I think there's so many different notions of home and building a home for each other in friendships. And that's something that I was trying to bring out from this piece.
Oh wow! Well, you did it. It was done. And with that, I'd just like to just start us with as we're going to continue our conversation. You mentioned stories. I'd like to ask, but as I ask, I want to demonstrate it, but I'm gonna just do it quickly because it's about you all. I'd like if you could just tell us some about your story, like how you came to YSC, how you came to what it is that you study, what it is that you're passionate about. Just real quick about me, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I am a forester. I came here in 2018 as the first assistant dean of community and inclusion. Before I came here, I was at NC State working in diversity. And we were successful here, okay? But I came here in that role. I was the inaugural. I had a lot to learn. And in less than 4 years, we made a lot of changes, shifted the culture here some. But that's how I got here. So I just wanted to be quick because I want to make this about you all. So I'd just like to ask if you could share. And I also had to ask Isaac if he would, because he's also co-hosting this. But our people need to also know more about this beautiful person too. So,
For sure.
So,
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, it's funny having been on a few episodes now, but I haven't done this yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, where do I even start?
Whatever you feel like.
Where do I even start? From the very beginning, a Monday evening in Washington D.C. So I guess what has brought me to YSC is. It feels like a point in a very long line from the past that will probably continue. But I'm here doing an MEM in People, Equity, and the Environment, and I'm also doing a Master's of Arts and Religion at the Divinity School right now, focusing on religion and ecology. And I came here out of this conviction that I've kind of been building towards, that a lot of the solutions that we need to remedy so many of our environmental crises come back to how we relate to the environment, if we can even say the environment as a concept, but what mediates our relationship to the more than human, and to our own communities too, because I think we can see so much of how we treat ourselves reflected in how we treat other species too. And so what brought me here was wanting to academically get more into that, to sort of deepen my understanding, but also, and why I was looking at something like an MEM is to pick up the skills to then go and do it, because this conviction that I have is that communities have this knowledge already. It's been stewarded, cultivated, refined, made better over, centuries, millennia in many cases. And so how can we use that and make it competitive on the scale that we have now? I think that a lot of times people will say we need to go back, but we need to there's a Maori proverb, kamua kamuri, walking backwards into the future. It's like the Sankofa, it's the exact same concept. It's like, how do we carry it forward? We have to adapt to the context. Mm-hmm. And so how can I be someone that can contribute to that, but most importantly, enable the people that have what we need to, just do their thing. Because I think in the communities, there's already so much inspirational energy. There's so much knowledge. There are so many leaders already present. How do we lift that forward? And so that's what brought me here. And I think part of the reason why I'm so excited for this panel today, having an international focus, is that, I was born here in the States, but my dad is from Jamaica. And so, I've juggled international context for my whole life. I spent a lot of time on the land in Jamaica as a kid and continue to when I can. But I think something that unites all of us is we share that sort of cross-contextual focus, and we like to work between communities. And so I think that we'll have a similar mind for that today. So that's me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Up to me. Damn. I don't know. It's funny to answer this question because I'm sure all of us have had this experience going through YSC. Like every class, every semester, you have to give the same spiel of, well, this is who I am, this is what I do, And it starts becoming a sort of a mask, right? So I'm gonna start with the mask, and then we'll go backwards from it. So who am I on paper? I am Fiacro. I'm a student at YSC, originally from Mexico. I'm a professional in sustainable and climate finance, and I've worked at the international, the national, and the local level. And right now I'm focusing in developing clean energy projects through a financial lens. That's what you always say on an interview, right? And I think Yale in particular has been very successful at helping us narrow it down and down and down this narrative, and also making a sense of a history of our own past. Like, oh yeah, it all made sense looking retrospectively. This is where we should have ended, right? In reality, it's obviously not that way. I came into this field because I have a tendency to deal with problems by taking them to the stratosphere. So when I learned about climate change, I was like, oh my God, this is a global issue that I can totally not solve on my own. Definitely, I'm gonna dedicate my life to this, right? So I came out of college with that idea in mind. And I was like, yeah, this is it. This is my life calling. And I'm gonna get into government and I'm gonna fix this. And I got into government and I was like, nobody's doing jack shit. So let me fix it. Quickly, I realized how wrong I was. A lot of things were being done. I just was ignorant. So I started working in government at the local level in Mexico City, back home, for around 2 years. And I sort of started understanding from my point of view that a big component of the climate crisis boils down to 2 points. Because there are a lot of solutions already in place. What you need is political will to move this forward. That's one. And two, you need a lot of money, right? To fix the political side of the coin, you'll have to get into politics. Getting into politics, it's not a good look these days, and especially in Mexico, it wasn't something I was looking to do. So I went to the financial side of the equation, and that's how I started working at the Ministry of Finance eventually, also back home at a national level, and how I got involved into these issues. Honestly, it has been, again, right now it looks like a linear pathway, but how I got to every position I got was through a series of happy accidents, and that's ultimately what led me here. I am by formation not a scientist and also not a finance guy. So I'm trying to do environmental science stuff, kind of, and finance stuff without having that background. So I was like, okay, I need those things. So that's how I landed into YSC, to get that sort of a stamp and keep moving in my career. But honestly, who knows? Who knows? I got here with an idea of what I wanted to do, and I quickly realized that I will be moving my career in a very different pathway, and we can talk about it later. But that's pretty much me in a nutshell for now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, it's always difficult to follow after Fiacro's
Absolutely
eloquence. But I think in some ways a slightly similar pathway in terms of coming here to sort of gain expertise, or at least gain some amount of knowledge in a field that I previously didn't have experience in. So I'm Ananya. I'm a second year student in the Masters of Environmental Science program, which is slightly different from the Environmental Management program. It's a really flexible degree, which is what drew me here. And I completed my bachelor's in sociology and anthropology from India, from University in India. I was lucky enough to have a great set of professors. I had a great education. And after I graduated, I started working at an environmental action research organization. And I was working largely on community forest resource rights for some of India's indigenous communities, and also working on agrarian land restoration in some of our drought-prone areas in peninsular India. And I was always, on this team, I was working on livelihood diversification for these communities. That's what I had experience in, that's what I was more adept at working on. But the larger projects were always sort of rooted in an ecological project, for instance, in drawing forest management plans or in actually restoring degraded agricultural land, I realized that I didn't actually have that ecological background that I would prefer to do my job better. So, and sort of course, everything's interconnected, right? So if I'm trying to work on augment livelihoods or diversify livelihoods, improve things like debt or indebtedness, I would also, I believed, have to understand the wider ecological systems in which all of these are rooted in. And so I really wanted to gain some more experience in the environmental sciences, and this program at YSC, the environmental science program, is extremely flexible. It lets you do pretty much any course you want to do, which was really exciting to me. It also lets me go back to studying the sciences when I didn't have that background. Like the last time I studied a science was in the 10th grade, and it's harder to sort of make that switch in degrees back home. So I did appreciate the ability to do that over here, which is what brought me here. And yeah, maybe we'll dive more into things from here.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing both, all three, excuse me, but definitely, for sharing yours, because something I have not heard in a while, and this was before I came to YSC, so I hadn't heard of people coming to back to school or coming to school really out of a curiosity versus some coming just to get a job. You see, and I'm hearing that from both of you, well, from all of you too, but but from the both of you, that there's a curiosity that you have. There's some information that you are seeking. Some of it you know what you're looking for, but I also feel like some of it you're open to what you don't know. As you were sharing, I came in, I learned something new, and then boom, I'm on a different path. With that, if you weren't in grad school, so you're gracing us being here, but if you weren't in grad school, what other, I'm asking all of you, and then after that you can ask a question. I'm not trying to take over, okay? No. What would you, I'd like to start from this end and come back, if you don't mind. What other career options would you be interested in, or that you think that you would be viable for? Because those would be two different things, right? I would like to do this, but maybe there's something else that I have a skill set for. So I'd really like to talk about that, if that's okay. And then we'll get into the other things that you're doing, as you say, we're going to talk about later.
For sure.
Well, I actually really loved my job before coming to grad school. So I think if I wasn't here, I would definitely still be doing that. I wouldn't even mind going back to doing that. So like I mentioned, it was an action research organization, and all of the projects. And I think that was what was most meaningful for me, because I really believe that both of them are not as robust or meaningful without the other, in terms of like academia rooted in just publishing papers, or projects on the ground that aren't actually rooted in any robust research. Both seem to have their own failings. So I really liked the fact that people were actually attempting to work meaningfully at the intersection of the two, and also the people I was working with were incredibly inspiring people doing really good work. So I was learning a lot from them. So the projects I was working on, to go into a little bit of detail, one of them was working on implementing this, in my opinion, quite a revolutionary law that India has, that actually transfers the governance of forest resources from the State Forest Department to local forest dwelling communities. And so we were working on implementing that governance shift, and specifically on augmenting the forest-based livelihoods that people really depend on. And it was meaningful because we were working with the district administration. I do believe that it is important to work with the state, especially in the context of the Global South, that there's a lot of infrastructure and resources that they do provide. So it was great to get the experience of working with them as well. And then the other project that I was working on was working with smallholder farmers in, again, a drought-prone area. So I think over there, it was on sort of working on livelihood diversification in the beginning of a restoration project. So in any land restoration project, the immediate first impact is that there is a loss in livelihood for the farmers involved because of the land actually taking its time to recover. So something that I enjoyed working on was trying to see what other resources could be drawn on to sort of provide a stopgap in the time that land would take to recover. So those were what I was working on. But overall, I think I would love to be working in any career that sort of is at the intersection both action and research, and is actually doing, in my opinion, some meaningful work on the ground. It was actually in a conversation that I had with Fiacro, I think in our first year, where we were like, not to start on a note of doom and gloom, but we were like, oh, the environment's screwed. Like, I mean, nothing we do is actually going to fix the crisis, so what's the point of anything we do? And I think coming out of that conversation, I was like, I think I just like to do work that I can see is doing something in the communities that I'm working in, and that's all I can hope to do in my lifetime. And so that's what I hope to be continuing with.
Thank you for that. Just before you speak, brother, just want to say that's a hard reality to deal with what's going on with our climate, now, and it's not impossible. I don't think that it's impossible, but I just think that it's challenging because I don't know that we can see our way out of it. I believe that it's possible to rectify a lot of what we're doing, but I don't know how much transformation it's going to take, But I think that the fact that we have these challenges, it kind of justifies having brilliant people like you here, to work to rectify or to fix these. But I just want to acknowledge that thank you for saying that, because it's tough. And with you all being here working on this, coming back to school and coming from where you come from, you see things that a lot of people here don't, like that they don't see. And that's whether it's here on campus or in the U.S., if you will. And so I just want to say thank you for saying that, because it's a reality that we all have to face it, whether people are aware of it or not. And so thank you and my friend Ms. Moore.
No, for sure. I think I agree with what you just said, but also with a lot of the points Ananya was making. What would I be doing if I wasn't here? As I said, I'm a big government guy. Like, that was my formation in college, and that's what I did for 6 years before coming here. And I honestly do believe on the transformational power that government can have. It comes with a lot of addendums, obviously, and working in government is painfully frustrating. But I would probably be still there, just because I think that this might go back to the conversation we had back then. I think government is one of those beautiful few professions that can say that the work you do, if done right, has a positive impact in someone out there on the streets. And that's something that very few professions can say, and that I value a lot. So I would probably still be doing that. However, I do think like the solution to this problem being as big as it is goes beyond that. So right now I'm having this sort of identity crisis, being a big government guy that is trying to make the jump into the private and financial sector, because part of the solution has to come from there. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's what I would be doing. I was also going to say, I forgot.
That's all right.
So maybe that's a sign that I should stop.
But that's all right.
Yeah.
If something comes up, you just jump
Absolutely.
back in. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Me?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really on a series of side quests. I mean, where I was at before coming here, when I made the decision to apply to grad school, I was in a naturally sort of transitional period because I was on sabbatical from my management consulting job that I jumped right into after undergrad, but that's when I was in New Zealand. Okay. And so I was very much working on a variety of things that had a definitive end date. It's like, if I actually did end up going back to my consulting job, I had a certain amount of leave. I was in New Zealand, I had a certain amount of time on my visa. But I was kind of, I had moved abroad, I was on pause from a lot of things. And so I felt like it was a fortuitous moment to consider something like grad school and to actually pivot, because I'd kind of already uprooted. I'd majorly uprooted in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But it sort of gave me the opportunity to say what's next. And so, if it wasn't this, I could have gone back to that job and sort of continued on in the sustainability consulting world, and that might have been sort of a de facto option based on what was there, but I guess living and working over there, I got experience, on a much smaller scale, and sort of to the point Ananya was saying, to do work where you see the impact on the ground a lot more, even if, you're talking about the scale of this, it's so much smaller than if you're trying to, consult with a large company who's trying to do sustainability initiatives. And the impact that in theory you can make with that is huge. It's like if you, I think about it in terms of like the metaphor of ships, where it's like if you take a battleship and it takes a lot to turn it 1 degree, but if you can turn it 1 degree, there is a big impact. But for me, it was hard for me to see that. And that's not for me to say that work doesn't need to be done, because my philosophy is that we need everybody everywhere to be doing something. And so wherever you want to be, wherever you feel like you should be, you should always feel like there's space for you to do what you do there. Like to what Professor Torres was saying yesterday, like use your strengths.
Yes.
I believe that. So that's not to knock on, that side of the profession. But for me, I like to, like Ananya said, see the impact. I like to be face to face with the people who whatever work I'm doing is affecting. And so I think I would have tried to continue in that direction. Probably back here, but who knows, maybe I would have still been on that side of the world if I didn't get accepted to this program.
Wow.
So I think about it a lot, because I'd also applied for Auckland University's environmental management program.
Okay.
So if I wasn't here, my life would look very different right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait a minute. There's a lot I can say about me, but it's not. I won't say about my background. I just want to say this, that everyone watching and listening, I think it's important for people to understand that people who come back to grad school, a lot of them are doing other things before they come back. And sometimes, I'm not saying this about you all, but there's sometimes people put certain things on hold so that they can come and do this and then go back. So it's not just an easy decision. And I want to recognize that, right? People came from jobs, people came from other parts of the world, people came from other parts of the country to do this. And so if anyone is thinking about that, I just want you to know that it is possible. They're showing you that is possible, but just to consider that people don't just come, like most people don't just come to school, that they're processing things and they're trying to balance things out, or they're trying to feed or fill a certain kind of, curiosity. So I just want to thank you, for that, and say grad school is possible. Just consider other things, in life. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Phil.
Yeah, I guess in terms of grad school, we're here
For now.
So,
As he loves to remind us, it's all ending soon.
yeah, these two are graduating, so
Thank you.
and I will remain here holding it down. But yeah, from both of y'all, having made the pivot to come here, what are the various opportunities here, whether it's, classes that you've taken, organizations you've been a part of, even just if it's at other schools or in New Haven more broadly. What do you feel like you have gotten a lot out of here, or that you've taken advantage of to sort of advance you towards the goals that brought you here in the first place, or that you, I guess, formed while you were here?
Right.
I'll let you take it.
You let me? Oh, wow, so gracious of you. I mean, as it is always the case, what I was hoping for is not what actually happened, and what I actually got out of it is not what I was thinking it would happen, right? And what I mean by this is, as I said earlier, I came here with the idea of, okay, I need some technical knowledge on what the planet actually is and how it works, and I need a stamp that says, like, these guys knows how to do finance, right? About the first part, the technical knowledge and the scientific knowledge, I really was not particularly impressed with what I got. Maybe I should have dig deeper, but or maybe it's not my calling. And on the financial side, it's not particularly exciting, at least for most of the people. But I did get so many other things that I wasn't expecting to get. And I think one of the big advantages of Yale, and of this program in particular, is that it lets you literally take whatever you want from any other school. And I remember when I was choosing what program to go for grad school, I used to make a lot of fun of people people that chose MBAs, right? Like, oh, you're doing an MBA, a goo tata, right? Like, what are you even doing? Do you really want to go to grad school? And coming here, I actually took a lot of classes at the School of Management here, and they were great. Like, I was like, oh, wow, these people are actually professionals that, like, sure, they just want to make a buck, but, like, they're serious about it. And sometimes I have struggles with my community at the School of the Environment because I think some of them are too on the clouds. So that was a fun thing to do, to meet these people. And just take a lot of different things. Another thing, while I was choosing what program to go for, part of the decision was, well, do I want to go to the US? Or do I want to go to Europe? Or do I want to go somewhere else? One of the reasons why I chose to come to the US is because American universities are very big on soft skills, right? And I really dislike the idea of networking and like hustling and like all of these things, but they are really useful. And I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna learn it, might as well learn it well. And I actually have had some very good experiences doing that here. Again, props to the School of Management, their negotiation classes, the leadership classes at the School of Global Affairs. Such a weird school, we won't get into that. They were great. And maybe one last thing I'll say on the community here at YSE, there are so many groups, and in the first semester they tell you like there's gonna be a lot of things to do. Don't go for everything. Not all the shiny things are worth it, and not all of them are worth it. But I didn't hear, and I went for all of them. And in retrospective, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have spent so much time at the forestry club, right? I don't know. It was good. It was good. It's fun if you're young, which I'm not. So anyway, it was a fun experience. I think that's where I'll shut my mouth.
That's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
The forestry club. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways really similar. I did come here, like I mentioned, for the flexibility that the Master of Environmental Science degree allowed. And I think in general, like Fiacro mentioned, another reason for choosing an American university was that they are the most interdisciplinary. From what I've seen, they allow the most disciplinary exploration, the most creativity in sort of bringing in strands from different schools, from different streams of thought. And so what I really enjoyed was truly, my degree has one compulsory course that I finished in my first semester. And after that, every single other course I've done has been completely up to me. So I've also done like courses in the School of Arts and Sciences, and the School of Architecture. And those were, I think my course in the School of Architecture was one of my best courses that I've done. And even at YSE, I think the most that I've gained has been, I think, a lot of my forestry courses. There are some like really exciting field trips, really amazing professors. I did gain that ecological knowledge that I came here searching for, so that was great. Of course, I think there are ups and downs, there are frustrations. I think before I came here, I remember, I think my father told me that studying the social sciences, it really matters where you study it and what sort of context that you're rooted in. Mm-hmm. And I think it really hit me when I came here because I think I did have some frustrations with how the social sciences are understood here. That sort of, having studied them in India, there was a lot more effort at decolonizing the disciplines. There's a lot more effort at situating it in the very real struggles of really very real economic, political, social struggles that you're seeing around you. And I feel like that is a little not as rooted over here. There's not as much effort. But that's not to say it's all bad. I did gain a lot from a lot of the courses. And I think in terms of all of the extra social things at YSE that they tell you to be careful of, I actually did really gain a lot from the ones that I decided to be a part of. I think the People, Equity, Environment Learning Community, ISTF, which is the Society for Tropical Foresters, all of the ones that I decided to be part of, I gained a lot working with them. And I think more importantly, it gave me access to the immense amount of resources that Yale has to actually bring in people that I'm inspired by, to bring in people that I want to work with, that I want to learn from, and actually bring them to campus, make things happen. Make things happen here for students that I want to learn, that I just now have the resources to draw on to make happen for myself and for others. And yeah, I think I was just fortunate enough to have access to this immense amount of resources that I wouldn't have had access to had I not come here. And so that was, I think, something I'm really grateful for being here.
Thank you. Well, okay, so technically you've already told us what your focus is. But you can tell us more, because I know you said some things are changing. So maybe I could leave that question if you wanted to do it. Because I wanted to ask about the experience.
Yeah.
Being here. Yes, that's, and I got a feeling you'll be as honest as you want to be, but no, you can on this platform. But how has your experience been? I'm assuming first and now your second year you graduate. Okay, so how has it been over the last couple of years? You've mentioned how some of the classes have been. I've heard some of that before. You mentioned how wild the schools could be. I've heard some of that too. but I haven't heard about your experience though. So like how would you convey that to us? And I'm thinking not just class. I'm thinking being here in the city. I'm thinking being a student here at the school. I'm thinking being a person that's a student of school in the city going somewhere else, when you go other places. Just how, and then even, you already mentioned how it was when you first came in, but just how has that been over these past 24 months, if that?
Right. I don't know.
You're the stars.
I'm the star.
But I'm thinking about it like even in terms of the context of talking about like adjusting to the American university system,
right.
But like even more broadly than that, like just adjusting to America, period.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like what it's been like to your point, Ananya, that you so beautifully conveyed in your poem about like finding and building homes in different places. What that process has been like.
Let's hear it.
Damn it. Yeah, I think, moving here, I think I did, not to be mean, but I did come in with low expectations. And so everything did exceed my expectations. I know, I think maybe I spoke to some friends who did grad school here who struggled more than I did or who didn't have as great of an experience.
All right.
So I came in expecting to be lonely and hate my classes and, just be miserable. But I didn't, and that was great. So it did. And I think there was the appropriate amount of cultural shock settling into America. I mean, this is my first time living outside of India. But I'd say it was, I wouldn't know if New Haven is representative of the overall American experience, but New Haven was...
it's not.
Yeah. It's not, you're right. But I think it definitely, there is the Yale bubble, which sort of, it was easier to settle in to Yale first and then settle into sort of the US or the city outside of Yale. So it was baby steps, and I think in terms of settling into the US, because it's not representative, New Haven's a small town, all of your friends are really close by, so those are the good parts. The bad parts are, the grocery stores are inaccessible. I don't know how to get to it without a car.
Yeah.
Living in this country without a car overall is just a struggle that I didn't really think about adjusting to before I got here. Also living month to month with I work 3 jobs, and I all of those 3 jobs combined with all of my external scholarships to really live to the dollar each month. So getting used to expenses and really budgeting down to how many ice creams I can have this month to have enough money to pay my rent next month. Those were the struggles, but I think it was worthwhile to sort of go through it and sort of learn that financial independence, learn how to live here on my own. And I think props to YSC in the sense that they really did build community in a really great way. They really put a lot of effort into us being one big family. But no, I really appreciated getting to know people and also in the process finding my own people who I really could rely on, including these 2 here and everyone else that I found along the way, has made it really easy to settle in.
Yeah, some of the experiences we had are similar and some are, I think, rather different. I think I also remember being in college and hearing, oh no, grad school, it's a grueling experience. You're gonna be there, you're gonna be alone, and you're gonna hate it. And I got here, and I was here, and I hated it sometimes, but I wasn't alone. On the contrary, like I remember first semester, we were going out 3 times a week. Like it's been such a social experience. And I think that's abnormal. I don't know if that's something that YSC does really good, if it's a Yale thing, or if it's a U.S. university thing. I don't think it's the last one because what I've heard is from other U.S. universities. So that was a nice surprise. I personally had not much of a cultural shock because Mexico is literally like right down, right? There is this famous quote of another Mexican dictator. So many dictators in this podcast. But he said, like, oh, Mexico, unfortunate Mexico, he is too far away from heaven and too close from the United States. And I think part of it means like the American hegemony stems completely all over Mexico. So in terms of culture, like coming here was no different from going anywhere in Mexico. Like the cultural similarities are pretty much the same. That said, I do think Yale and New Haven is a bubble from America. I mean, it is a small town in the middle of Connecticut that literally nobody knows. And it has its pros and it has its cons. I really love being able to walk anywhere, to be walking down the street and run into my friends. When else am I going to have that opportunity, right? So that's been really good. It does also feel weird in terms of like, well, you're planning your professional life and you have this step and this next goal and you are planning it everything to the dot. And then you stop all of it for 2 years to go back to school? Like, what do you mean do I have to give homework? Like, Dr. Professor Elizabeth Forbes, I'm here at COP28 and you're asking me to write a post about lobsters in Maine. What are you talking about? Like, what is this? So that's been unreal. It's been really, at best it's been funny, and at worst it's been really frustrating. But it's been a beautiful experience. However, I'm already looking forward to get back into the real world. Because we have to, right? We have to.
As you love to remind us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that reminds me of one of my friends who's a stand-up comedian came and visited in New Haven a couple weeks ago, and she was like, "Oh, all of you guys are nearly 30 and you still have homework." Yeah.
That's a funny way of putting it.
Shout out to Abby for that joke. But yeah, and I think that hearing you guys speak about like the work that YSE has been doing and attempting to do, however you might want to put it, to, I guess, take the next step in integrating an international community into this school, reflects in both of y'all in that you're part of the inaugural cohort of the Three Cairns scholarship here. And, you know, I came in at the same time as you all, so I don't know what YSE was like before that, but it seems to me it was international before, and that focus was there, but that this is a level up in terms of what they're trying to do, in a way that as a non-international student, like I perceive that very strongly, and think it's a good thing. So what has it been like for both of you to be part of that inaugural cohort of Three Cairns in terms of like being part of that new direction, but then, you know, also in terms of like, what are the growing pains that you've seen with that, and what are some ways that you think the program can be elevated into the future?
All right. Want to give it a shot?
Okay, I'll start. So I think I do really appreciate the amount of resources that are being poured into supporting international students, especially through this program. It's been an incredible resource. It's honestly the reason why I'm here. I could not have afforded grad school in the US without the Three Cairns program, because I don't have to pay tuition, which is really commendable. So I really appreciate the financial support for sure. And another big shout out to the program is that I honestly have found all of my closest friends here and my closest people through, like, all of the scholars happen to be my closest friends, and also the people that I've really had the most rewarding work experiences with. So, like, the Society for Tropical Foresters, the conference that I pulled off, I worked only with other 3CAN scholars. Not by design, but it just happened that we all have really similar interests. We have similar geographies that we want to work in, and professionally it's been really rewarding to work with them as well. So I think in terms of the people I found and the financial resources given me, I'm really grateful to the program. I do think there could be maybe things to be integrated into future cohorts. Number one, I think the international focus really should start trickling down into the syllabus as well, in terms of having courses that either have international professors teaching them or at least are more rooted in like I said, like the political economic systems that are in the global south that are very different from up here. Some of the experiences from there can be brought in here. And I think one of my friends always says this, and I do agree, that the emphasis is always on what we can learn from here and take back home, but I think there also needs to be an emphasis on what we bring here and what can be learned from us being here in the first place. So I think that shift is something I would love to see happen. Yeah, I think I'll let you take it forward.
No, I think it's a very accurate assessment. I'm usually a very critical person, so whenever I get into a community, I immediately hate it and try to distance myself from it. So I'm, yeah, lovely guy, I know. Why did we invite him to the podcast? Anyway, I'm making an effort to not do that, and I'm going to start saying something similar to Ananya. Like, this scholarship has been incredibly helpful. Honestly, if it wasn't for that scholarship, I probably would have not chosen YSE. And I do appreciate the effort of like bringing more and more students. I think YSE is very vocal that they want this to be an international hub for environmentalists. And you can see that. What's this number that they're always throwing about? Like around 40% of the students in YSE right now are international students, and from very diverse countries and very diverse backgrounds. And I think they make an excellent job at that. Curiously, they don't make such a good job at diversifying students from the actual US. I think there is a very specific profile of students that get into YSE from the US, which is weird because you have a very diverse community of international people, but not from American citizens, right? So there is work to do there. Then in terms of the actual experience of being an international student, here I completely agree again with you. And I mean, I don't know. I think YSE is going through some aching pains of growing up and deciding what it wants to be as a school. Because right now it is a school focused on teaching environmentalism in the American context. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're going for. But it seems they want to do that, but they also want to be spreading internationally. There is also this constant struggle deciding whether, well, are we the School of Forestry still, or are we the School of the Environment? Like, some people really want just to be foresters, some people want something else. Yeah. And there is this focus on business. There is a very business-focused segment of the community here that want to push that forward, which, I don't know, being here, you can sense that are competing interests that sometimes go in very different directions. And it shows in the curriculum, right? Because if there was a clear narrative, you could totally see more like international literature and international cases of how this topic goes beyond American borders. It's not here right now. But I think that's more a question of like, who do we want to be as a school? And it's a thing that is still being ruminated. One last thing I would say is, again, I think this scholarship is an incredible resource, but we could be doing so much more with it. Like, I think right now we're the first cohort, and they're sort of testing what could be gotten out of it, but there are many more things we could be aiming for if you really want to build a community of international, like the vanguard of environmentalists. Like, you could do that with the amount of resources that have been poured into this program. But right now, I think that vision is lacking. So yeah,
Yeah, I think I just want to add to that
Yeah.
last point that I do agree, and I feel like that there are the resources, and I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the scholars themselves have so many ideas. I remember in our first year we met and we put together a whole document of all the things we
Oh,
were
yeah.
excited to do and bring and like use the resources for. And I feel like maybe if some attention is given to like actually pulling out those ideas and using the resources to bring in people as resources, bring in sort of trainings, bring in opportunities to share knowledge with other people working in similar areas. I feel like there are a lot of ideas, and I feel like this scholarship could be a great opportunity to actually channel resources towards making those happen.
Yes. Okay. Our next question is about like why I say adaptive. But I like to, if I could just just kind of curve it just a little bit, because I want to kind of ask you two questions in one. In the institution that's attracting people, it is technically their job to adapt to the people coming in. The point is for you to come in, have a good experience, we hope, go out, be an ambassador for us, turn people around, come here. So the first part of my question I want to ask is, what, based on your experience, and of course your opinion too, obviously, what things can YSC do to adapt better to bringing in beautiful, brilliant people from across our globe here? That's the first part. But what do people kind of need? I don't want to say to them adapt, because in the end, you're going to go back out, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of asking what things can you say for people to adapt to being here, just what should they do to be prepared to come here and be successful or retrieve the lessons like our podcast this morning? How should they be better? Please, this word coming to my mind, but I want to have a better word, but like conditioned preparation to come in here and, as someone say, hit the ground running, or maybe hit the sky flying. So the first part, how can we, or what do we need to do to continue to adapt and bring in amazing folks? But then, what can amazing folks do to have an amazing experience? Coming here.
Yeah, I think it's a tough question because there are some issues that I think are structural, and I don't see a way of going about them. And to give an example, our cohort is incredibly varied in the amount of topics everyone is working on, which makes it difficult to pick a direction, to really tailor a school towards something. If you have to handle everything at once, you're not going to be handling everything well, right? So that's one issue. Another issue I see is we're also incredibly diverse in terms of age and experience. So we have people here that are straight out of college, and they have completely different needs and completely different expectations of what grad school should be. And then you have professionals I think we have a classmate that is in his 60s, that has just built that career, truly outstanding career that is just here to learn for the love of learning, right? So the needs of these two completely different types of people are never going to match. I think one of the greatest, and we've touched on this, but one of the greatest strengths and also one of the greatest weaknesses of YSC, it's the freedom it has to let you just pick your adventure and just narrow it down to what you want. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to be actually helpful for you, to choose what you actually need and the courses that are best for you. Maybe on that front, I think currently we have these specializations, and I see the reason behind that. But maybe sometimes they are too constrictive. So maybe just providing a little bit more of career counseling for the folks that actually need it, and just giving freedom to make your own pathway for people that come here with a clear idea would be a good way of improving that. But it's a tough question. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know it is a difficult question, and I think I do think that the diversity of interest isn't necessarily a structural barrier to actually improving people's experiences of grad school, because I do think, for example, the specializations that we have do provide a way for people to channel their interests in different directions. But I do agree with what you said in terms of giving people the option to maybe alter these specializations to fit their exact interests. Or also, I think for the specializations themselves to work within themselves to see how because I think each specialization can be improved in very specific ways. And so I think my suggestion would be to not have like academically speaking at least, to not have like one overall sort of strategy for every single specialization, but to recognize that every specialization has different weaknesses and strengths, and that's what needs to be actually fixed. And I can't speak for I actually can't speak for most specializations because I don't have any. I'm not an MEM student, I'm MESC. Right. But I have, as a result of that, I've taken forestry courses, I've taken people equity in the environment courses, I've taken courses that fall under ecosystem management. I've just taken courses from a lot of different ones, and I feel like through that, I've seen that each one has different ways in which they can improve. Like what I mentioned about having more international voices or more international perspectives would really improve the people equity and environment specialization. I think like the forestry specialization, it can improve with, I feel like there is space given to tropical forestry at the moment, but I feel like temperate and tropical are kept in very different buckets. And these are all just like very specific things, but I feel like each specialization has that specific thing that could actually help it improve. And I feel like giving attention to that might be a way forward.
I like how you frame that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done.
I like how you frame that though, because you identified the freedom that the school kind of gives, but the challenge of that freedom, right? Too many views, too many ideas. It's a plethora to explore. How do we narrow it? But then you also shared that because we have so many options, it's almost like if we could identify the weaknesses, or maybe if we just call them gaps between them, it's almost like now I'm speaking outside of them, okay? But it seems like if we can take that and maybe kind of get people to focus on those gaps, maybe we can narrow the focus of that, because they're all connected. They're just different, in a different way. And they're going to attract people from different backgrounds, so on and so forth. I also love how you said you got people come here just for the love to learn. Some people just come right out of school. Some people go to work and then come back, And I'm just saying this out loud, just an idea that just came to me. I almost want to, and if it is here, I'm sorry why I see that I forgot, I apologize, but we focus so much, I think, on parts of the environment, okay, whether we're talking forestry, finances, environmental science. There's a part of that thinks, what if we actually focused on the experiences of the people more so than the environment? What you were saying, okay, Fiacro, when you were like, we have people who came right out of school, okay, right out of school coming to the environment, there's a different focus there. Okay, and they may need help with the confidence part too, because they're new, they're young, they're coming in, so on and so forth, right? To me, to have them in a class with everyone else, it still matters, but if we focused on that experience, then you have people who've gone to work and then they come back, right? So people who've gone to work and come back have somewhat of an idea, if not in full idea of what you want to know or what you need to know, right? But if we can feel that with humility, okay, meaning us filling your cup, with humility, like we're giving you something more, like we're trying to give you something, hope it works. Then that gives you a chance to fill us back with something, okay? Then you have the other, and there's other people in between. Then you have the people who just want to come back and learn. I think that they need prayer. I'm not coming back to Shawshank. I'm sorry.
You made it to the beach.
Yeah, you made it to the beach. Learn to swim. Don't turn back around and come back to land. Swim. Go. No, but people who want to come back, and I think all three and others in between need to be celebrated. But to celebrate that, right, because you're coming back, just to kind of feel a curiosity. And then I think that if we were using that, let's use that to help create the experiences versus just the environmental part. And I think that would align with the humanity of the students, what you're bringing in, and the brilliant experiences that you're bringing with you. I just wanted to say that out loud, because this is the first time, I worked in 2018 to like 2022. This is the first time I've heard it like this. Like that kind of clarity. And that's why that idea just came to me, that I think we should focus more on the experiences than just environmental stuff.
It would open up to mentorship, different forms, like consensus building.
That's it.
Open the whole class experience up in a different way. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that because, there's so much, and we get told this kind of by our peers more than anything, but I've found just as much, if not more, mentorship within the cohort from classmates. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more accessibility there than to like certain professors say, or most it's like a lot of people here focused on publishing.
Oh no, I mean stop shit. Poker face. That shit. I'm sorry.
Editing is a gift.
Okay.
But there's to your point, Bennett, there's so much knowledge just within our cohorts here. There's a lot of people who are way more advanced than me that I can learn from. And I know that like there have been attempts to do mentorship with alums, for example, but I think we can formalize it a little more just right here.
Right here. Yeah, because you bring so much with you. There's like when you said a lot of what we teach is on an American basis in ways, right? But we want to be international. To me, that's when I know when I was here, I didn't lean on the students to work though. No. I didn't do that. I would lean on you to kind of just give me just some guidance on, is there anything I can do that connects with you? So that I am doing something that the students want to know that will be more exciting for them versus me having my idea. But see, that's what I mean. Like, get the information from you, right? Because you're bringing all of this experience. I've never been to New Zealand. I don't even know what it looks like. There's so much you can teach me about the global travel. Never served in government like that. I don't get that. How you described your experience in working with people in the community, I've never done that, right? That is what I think a class could be, the experiences that you bring, and then I think if we could adapt to what you're saying, then I think that we can fill the gaps that are left after that. And from that, I can publish something with you, not just for myself, but with you, So I just wanted to say that, I just think, yeah.
Differentiator. So, yeah.
That's Bennett talking to everybody from behind the camera.
It's a camera.
Okay. I'm getting more excited. Let me stop. Okay. Did you want to take the next question?
We can go for it. I mean, moving it back into, I guess, the personal space, and it's come up in conversation a few times that, rounding out your time here sooner than later, sadly. Well, maybe not for you. You're ready. Let's go. What are some things that, have kept you sane throughout grad school? To what we were saying, it's like, we're very fortunate here to not be in a program that feels isolated and that has a lot of really amazing social opportunities built in to find community. That being said, it's still hard. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to balance. We're at a rigorous place. So what have you done to maintain balance in your life, or what has kept you going here? And what are some of the, I guess, best memories that you'll carry forward as you move on to the next stage?
Right. I mean, I think in terms of balance, right, and I'm going to go on a slight tangent, but I'll get to the question. Right before coming here, when I was working at the Ministry of Finance, I was constantly pushing to my boss that I needed to get up in a position of leadership. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And eventually she was like, okay, you know what? Shut up. Here is the position. Go ahead, take it. And it was brutal. I was not prepared for it. Like, I was juggling. I couldn't handle it. Things were falling. And it was a terrible 3 months. And after that, it was 3 months because I already had told her that I was quitting and I was going to grad school. And she was like, okay, here are your 3 months, experience it. And it was horrible. But one of the good learning experience I got from that was that when you're in a position of leadership, one of the crucial skills is to know how to let things burn. Because you're not going to be able to deal with everything at all times. So you have to prioritize and know what things are not worth it, right? So coming here to grad school, and to your question, I remember, and this might even be like a fake memory, but I remember in the first semester, they told us again, there's going to be so many things to do here. Just dedicate 30% of your time to school, 30% other to socializing and networking, and 30% to you, right? And I think I've managed to sort of strike that balance. Because at the end of the day, it is a very different experience from being in college. You're no longer a kid, doing your homework and aiming or gunning for straight A's. Maybe some people are, but
I was going to say, when you mentioned that we're all 30 and doing our homework, I was going to say some of us are further from 30 than others. But
That's the child bride.
Show the ring. Show the ring.
Oh yeah. Show us.
Fiacro is publicizing the fact that I am getting married at a younger age than he would expect and hope for. And so I've now been named the child bride, and now everyone knows me as that. Thank you, Fiacro.
Anyway,
I'm 26. I'm not 18. Just putting it out there.
but yeah, like going back to your questions about how to cope with very different things, understanding that some things like are not worth worrying about. It's okay if you do not study 48 hours for that final. 24 hours are completely fine. And if you don't get honors, that's also fine. You didn't came here to have an honors degree, right? You came here to learn things and to get specific skills. And as long as you're getting those things and also having a good time along the way, that's what you're here for. That's my take. Now let's hear the opposite take.
That's a good take. I do agree with you.
Oh, thank you.
I do think Fiacro works more than he claims to work. So I don't think he gave 30% to himself. I think he gave closer to 10. But I think most of us in grad school do. And I think it's about making the most of that 10% you end up giving. Well, I think both of us ended up giving closer to 10% to ourselves. And I think it is really about doing as much as you can with that 10%. Because I think when they say 30% work and 30% socializing, no one's talking about jobs, or no one's talking about keeping your house running and things like that. And so I think that takes up a lot of space. But I think outside of that, some of the things that I specifically love doing in New Haven, I loved having East Rock Park, specifically just at the end of my road. Shout out to one of my forestry professors in the first semester, Marlies. She told us one of our assignments for one of our first classes here was to spend half an hour every week in one specific spot in any forest that you could find near you. And that actually really got me so attached to East Rock Park and my spot and the woods at the end of my street. I will never have that when I move back. So I think I just really enjoy being so close to the forest, being so close to the sea. I've never lived on the coast before. I love it's not really the most beachy town you'd imagine, but I love having the sea right here. So I think being outside, being in these spaces, seeing my friends,
Totally.
walking over and just, most nights when I have nothing to do, just walking over, having dinner with my friends, just hanging out in their house until I'm ready to fall asleep. I think those are some of the things that keep me going over here.
Thank you.
You want to wrap us up?
I can. Yes, I can. I want to add. So first, I need to ask one other question before this, because Fiacro, you mentioned earlier, and Ananya, you did too. Ananya, excuse me. You came in with no expectation, right? But you adapted to some things, Oh, you adapted to everything. You came in, I knew what it was that I wanted to do, but you said some things changed, and you said that you wanted to talk about that. So what I wanted to know before we go into the dreaded question, but what changed? What? Because I think people really need to know, that you come in one way, you're leaving another way, So can you tell us about what changed? Was it the interest that changed? Was it your philosophy that changed? Was it what you're now pursuing when you leave here that changed? And I'm asking of both of you, but what was it that changed that you said that shifted?
Right.
And if it's more than a couple of things, please, no, we want all of it. Whatever you're willing to share.
No, for sure. I think for me, as I said, the last decade has been, it's a cliche, but a decade of learning who I am and what I want to do in terms of my life and professionally specifically, right? I think I struggled for a while because for the most part, I've been a generalist. I know how to do a lot of things, but I'm not an expert on one specific thing, right? So I've worked on policy, I've worked on finance, I've worked on funds, I've worked on bonds, and but I've always been at the manager level, never in the thick of it, and I know how to do this very specific thing, and I'm the best at it. I didn't have that, right? So I came here with those questions about myself. I wasn't really sure about I'm going to be the best accountant, thank God. But I did have the question of what am I good at, right? And here is where my obsession comes in. In my second semester, I took this class called Renewable Energy Project Finance. Oh God, was it painful? Did I hate every minute of it? Yes, it was absolutely amazing too. I have this terrible love-hate relationship with things that are really, really, really hard, because then I'm oh, I'm bad at it, now I'm going to be really good at it. And now I'm obsessed with it. So my So my new focus is that I didn't come here thinking I was going to be an energy guy, because I was more into the finance side of things, and now I'm completely focused on energy. That's my thing. I really liked it, and I really like this specific, very niche thing on how you come with the idea of I want to put a solar plant. And to actually do that, what's the process in between? How do you finance it? How do you structure it? How do you go about talking with a bank and structure it? And all the steps in between. I find it fascinating, and I think that's where I found that's where I want to build a career in that very specific, very technical, very extremely boring thing for 90% of the people. But I really enjoy just spending 3 hours. I just had an interview yesterday, where I had a call. It went great. Oh yeah, Bennett actually heard it. It was a short call. We spoke, and he was okay, here is an Excel file. You have 3 hours to build a model and give it back to me. And I just went straight into it, and I enjoyed every minute of those 3 hours. It sounds awfully boring
Crazy.
and very grueling, and it probably was, but I loved it. So that's what very fascinating thing I got out of grad school.
Oh my goodness! I just want for you, I just want to say thank you, because when we started, you said that you said that the first two questions some changed, and I wanted to make sure that we got to what changed, because we don't deserve access to information, but I believe that you deserve to share it or not share it, and if you want to be heard, but I was really interested, and now I'm glad that I asked that question, because folks, you need to know that you can come in brilliant as they are, right, and still are leaving even more brilliant, but something shifted and changed, and it may not be something that everybody else likes, but that's not what matters. It's what he likes, and it's what you do, and you obviously found something else that you do well. So with that, leader, let me come to you and ask, what did anything, or what changed, what shifted as you're preparing, but let's just keep it on what shifted.
Right, so I think I didn't have my REPF light bulb moment like Fiacro did. But I think for me, on a very specific level, I came in being really interested, for example, in forestry. My interests have shifted. I still love forestry and forest sciences, but I'm also really interested in agriculture and food systems, and I did spend the second half, I spent my first year a lot in forestry, and my second year I really shifted, and I feel that's what I'm going to want to work in when I go back. On a broader sense, I think I came in really wanting to learn ecology, and then halfway through I realized I think I just want enough ecology to do my job as a social scientist better, because that's what my heart is, as much as I really try to really love the plants and the bugs and everything. They're super interesting, but I feel I just want to know enough to do the stuff I love better. And so it was nice to arrive at that sense of peace that I don't have to be great at everything that I'm trying to learn.
Yes.
And I think another thing that struck me when I came in here was that something that I realized was that YSC is a really solutions-oriented school, and I think that's one thing that I do like to push back on, because I feel a lot of the they're all wicked problems, like people say, right? And it's really difficult to actually pinpoint a solution and trying to dedicate resources to come up with that solution. A lot of the times things are in adaptation or negotiation, or trying to find something as a stopgap, or trying to understand the complexity of something before actually trying to address what's going on. And so I feel something that I also learned was to little bit question that the privileging of like solutioning. And I do think, so I think those were just, they're not exactly like things that shifted, but it's just things that I've reflected on in my time here that I'm going to take back with me in the sort of career that I get back into.
Okay. Thank you. Everybody, I want to ask the way that my friend here put it. He put the dreaded question, but I'm going to close the last question. So as I said earlier, congratulations. I know that you all are getting ready, like to graduate. And the only reason why our brother is not is because he's expanded his experience here, and he's continuing on for, he has a couple of program experiences that he's going through, so he's not slack. He's doing a lot. But our other two have done a lot and completed their programs. And the question is, what ideally would be the next, leg or part of your personal, what will the next leg or the next path, part of your personal and professional journey look like for you? And here's the thing, even if you say, I'm not sure, that's fine. I do think that we cannot know. Uncertainty is okay, but just having somewhat of an idea of where you like to go, I think is important. So that and I know you all are strong, but that so that no one will shift you. So, like what does it look like personally and professionally if you're comfortable sharing?
Let's hear it.
Well, I think it would have been a lot more satisfying if I came in here having a job and been really proud to share what my new job is going to be. Unfortunately, I don't. But I know I will be moving back home. I'll be moving back to India. I don't necessarily know where. But I did come here always intending to move back, always intending to sort of take what I learn here and work back home. And that is what I'm continuing to hope for. So I am in the process of the dreaded job application phase. I think we're all in that. And I'm hoping, like I mentioned, to work in agriculture and food systems once I return. India is and has been in the middle of a really severe farming crisis, agrarian crisis for decades now. Our epidemic of farmer suicides is only climbing, and it's not an easy space for any of the people that are working in it. And I think they need all of the support they can get. So I'm hoping that's the field I will be in when I go back. I don't necessarily know where. That's what's coming for me.
And your wedding.
And your wedding.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell?
Yes, of course.
Yes, I will be getting married, touch wood.
Well, so congratulations on that. But I think that there's something to say about that. Sometimes people I'm not saying that you did that, Ananya, but some may minimize like this transitional time, because I'm applying for jobs and I'm not sure what's next. But I think in the episode that we had earlier, I think that there's so many beautiful lessons that you get as you're getting it, because you're going to do it and you're going to get to that point. But I think it's great. I'm just encouraging just to take in those lessons because you're already successful. Just like, what are the other lessons that I can get as I'm, going to my marriage, going into the job and just to have that because you've already accomplished so much and you climbed that mountain. It's just another mountain to climb. So not that you needed the firm affirmation from me, but I just wanted to say that and congrats again.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, my friend. How about you, sir?
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, the interviews are flowing. We still need like a solid offer, but I don't know. So here's the thing. If you had asked me this question 3 months ago, I would have told you the world is my oyster. If I find a job in the Persian Gulf, I'll take a flight tomorrow and go there. If the job is in South Korea, I'll go there. If it's in Argentina, I'll go there. Things have changed since then. I've had the fortune of starting a beautiful relationship at the worst time possible. Right as I'm finishing grad school, she goes to YSC and she's still going to be here for 2 years. So now I have incentives to stay here along the East Coast for the foreseeable future. Okay. So you have that on the one hand. Then the current market in the United States for clean energy is not looking great, right? So it's kind of rough there. That's another thing. Another thing, I'm a Fulbright scholar, which means it's great when you start, and when you end, it's like, oh God, now I have still many check things that I have to go about in terms of migratory restrictions and how the future looks like. So it's not a clear pathway. It's never an easy pathway as an international student to work in the US, and it's even harder in those conditions. And added to that, I think maybe those are like sort of like the challenges. Some opportunities is like, I think in terms of clean energy, the market is growing exponentially in Latin America. Specifically in Mexico, recently some new regulation was published in terms of electrical markets. So I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of movement on developing renewables in the country. And that means they're going to need people that know how to do that and then know how to operate inside the Mexican framework, that know Spanish, and that's me, right? So what I'm gonna do, I have no idea. It's gonna be an excruciating next 3 months until I land somewhere, but I'm certain that I'm gonna be working in energy and probably around the North American region.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
fingers crossed.
Well, I'm just checking with my brothers. Anything else you know that you want to add? You know.
I'll just say that to close it out how we started it, in the spirit of friendship, as both of your poems offer, which I had no idea was what was going to happen actually. But it's serendipitous because I'll just say that these have been two of my greatest friends in all of our time here. We all knew each other from pretty early on in the course of the program. And we've continued to sort of stick it out together throughout. Other folks along with us as well, but it's just been really nice to share the stage with two of the people who have made my time here very special and who I will definitely be missing a lot next year. It's going to be weird to not see these guys here in Kern. But yeah, just to acknowledge some great friendships. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all.
You know, him and Benedict, they'll find a way to almost make me cry, so I'm just going to focus here on you all. Because that's very endearing when you talk about people who've impacted you. You're saying it in front of them, they hear you, giving them the flowers while they can smell them, basically. It's an interesting time in our world and even in our country right now. I think that for me, this panel is a reminder of what it means to focus on, it all matters, but to focus on the things that feel and build you up. I'm up here just being encouraged by looking at one, you two, but then all three of your, friendships, and it reminds me to stay focused on the things that build me and that help me to feel secure and safe and to lean into people who lean into me. So thank you all for also being an example of that, of pouring into each other, and supporting each other, regardless of where people are from. See, that part that matters, the language that people, like the language of our values, how we care, that mattered. How we treated each other, how you all have treated each other. And to me, I think that's what I just want to encourage those who are listening to keep that in mind as you're pursuing grad school, as you're pursuing a career, as you're pursuing relationships. But keep how to be a friend to somebody. More important than anything, because no matter what, climate change or not, we still need each other. And so I'm taking that, with me, and also to be open to any type of experience. I feel good knowing that maybe something in me will change. Change a lot of times can be hard, but after this, I'm like, maybe I need to embrace it some more, so that I can get to a better place or get to another place. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time, your intelligence, your ideas, your truthfulness, for real. Thank you. You needed it. Okay. And also, thank my brother here for setting this up. It's another episode of the Hardwood Podcast. Dr. Easley signing out, but Bennett, the loophole behind the camera. Of course, Brother Isaac Carew right here sitting next to me. Go in grace, go in peace, go in love, y'all. Take care. Peace.
Let's go.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Wow, no, it's probably still. Genius comes after we finish because he's like, just keep rolling for me.
Yeah.
Thank you all for what you shared. May I ask, when's the wedding?
In December.
In December. Oh, okay. Good.
It's coming up.
Good time. It's coming up. All right. Okay. And then you were mentioning, you said that you, because of a lovely relationship, or but you'll be hanging around.
Absolutely.
You said North America. It's what do you have you? Could you tell me? And if not, no problem. But like, are you seeing like what maybe more opportunities are for clean energy, like East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, or like, like.
In the US specifically?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think fortunately, in terms of renewable energy, we've gotten to a point where technology is, simply put, cost competitive with oil and gas.
Okay.
So no matter what the political wind is, this is here to stay because it makes sense economically. So we're going to be seeing that develop in both of the coasts, probably in the Midwest, certainly in Texas, just because it makes a lot of sense financially. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's that.
Texas already has a lot.
Texas has a lot of the renewables. Yeah.
Okay, really?
They try to operate like as their own sovereign.
They have their own grid.
It's crazy how their grid works.
How
it's
like there's,
insane.
There's what, 4 different grids in the U.S.?
Yeah, there are like clusters of grids, and then there is just Texas.
Yeah.
They just don't want to be
crazy.
interconnected with anyone.
It almost totally backfired. Do you remember that
Yeah.
winter storm in like 2021 that happened down there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the grid was nearly gone.
Oh,
But because they were cut off, it's like if that would have happened, then they would have just been totally shit out of luck.
oh, dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very Texan, though, I will say. It's very
The
Texan.
South being independent.
It's just, Texas is a whole other thing. I
Remember
mean,
the album?
H-Town till I drown, man. Like,
Another, I want to ask you a question too. You mentioned, I mean, you said, gleefully, but you also, you talked a couple of hard things. You mentioned, how the suicide rates, in other countries going up and stuff. I'm asking. I'm ignorant. I'm using my friend's word. How you say I'm ignorant of a lot of things. So talk about food and agricultural systems. Large population, I know. But what else is impacting it? Are we talking like soil conditions? Are we talking, water? And I'm asking ignorant because I've never been, so I'm just just owning that, and I don't know, right? I got my low American thing, but what else is it that's impacting that? And because here in the country, here in the U.S., like forests are declining, but if we had better topsoil, if we had just better stewardship, things would change. Because in states like North Carolina, we have better forests now than we had 60 years ago. Because of practices and stuff like that. Some good, some. But my question is I guess I'm asking for my own curiosity and ignorance, but what else is it that's affecting the agricultural systems? And I'll just leave it at that question.
Yeah, I think a large part of India's crises are rooted in our legacies of the Green Revolution, which started in the 1960s. And the Green Revolution was meant to address the crisis of food sovereignty, to increase food production. But what it did was it brought in a lot of market-produced seeds that replaced indigenous seeds with sort of seeds that can't be replanted. So you have to buy seeds every time. You can't reuse your own indigenous seeds. And then these fortified seeds like GMO, they usually need a whole lot more of fertilizers, a whole lot more of pesticides, a lot more inputs, which then is what is actively degrading the soil. And it also reshapes a lot of the social systems of support that farming communities used to have that are now sort of depleting with using, for example, seeds that you can't reuse, you can't share, you have to make sure that it stays in your own fields. And in addition to the sort of the soil degradation because of these increased inputs, there's a huge groundwater crisis because again, linked to the Green Revolution, it was a very specific set of policies. The government started incentivizing rice and wheat production, which are hugely water intensive. It also completely subsidized electricity, which we needed at the time to actually produce enough food to feed our population. But because of the subsidized electricity and incentivized rice production and uneven canal systems, we started extracting downwater at a ridiculous rate. So now there are water shortages, the soil is in trouble. Indebtedness is huge because farmers depend on informal sources of credit that have higher rates of interest. So it's a lot of really intersecting problems: economic, soil, water. So a lot of different directions that you need to come in from.
I just feel like this. Are you still recording?
This one is, yeah.
I just feel when you mention GMO, so I'm a geneticist, and I did my work in Iowa before a Japanese paper company. This is in the early 2000s, I feel like our practices, what we do in the U.S., have just plagued the world. Because everything that you just said, I thought that was our problem, and I thought that I wish we wouldn't have sent that in other places. I mean, that's just whack. I mean, because the issue that we have, like let's say in forest practices, we'll go in, clear cut or cut some out, but then we'll plant back what we want there. It's like a cash crop, basically. Cut down redwoods, plant eucalyptus. But see, that's why houses burned in the 80s. In the Bay Area because we planted the wrong thing. And I just feel like that's
Los Angeles too.
Yeah.
Highly flammable. Went up in smoke. Yeah.
Yes. And when you say the green revolution, I'm thinking about Norman. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, yeah. He went to our state. I met him. He was like 91.
Oh, wow.
But still, there were some solutions there. But it seemed like that there are these other things. The solutions didn't just go there. These are the practices of what went there, and that's affecting this. And I'm a little pissed off about that, man. Just how our tentacles are going every freaking where, and just seeing the negative effect, and then folks coming here to learn from us, the ones who play. Man, ooh, I'm a little pissed off right now, man. Damn, because we're not fixing you. And now it goes back to what y'all said at the beginning, about the whole climate crisis. And maybe I'm beating us up too much of the U.S. or whatever, but I'm so damn just
no, but I think it's right. It's like who are we to say as part of this 3 kind of things? Oh, you come and learn from us and then take it back. It's the same model that got everybody into shit in the first place.
Yeah, that y'all say it much more concise and precise to me when y'all talk. That's what I'm saying. No, thank you for answering that, but that's I don't know, that's just sad to me because I feel like I can see where the problem started. Even though I'm not there, because it's not with you all, I think it's with us impacting, the world. But, I'm ignorant, I don't know a lot about that, I just, so I'll acknowledge that and say that I have an answer. But thanks for answering. Well, I know that you'll be successful, and I just hope that the world will be able to catch up with you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for being here today. And, why do this? I still wish I was here, man. There's so many beautiful folk that I didn't have a chance to interact with since I left. Dang, I might be smarter now if I would stay.
You get the good bad enough, remember that.
We try to curate the good as much as possible.
Reeling you in.
He's back, y'all. No, I appreciate that. But listening to you all and just like our panel last year, just reminds me of the thing I miss the most is interacting with the students. That was my favorite thing. You know what I'm saying? Teaching and learning, having people come by my office and just like, even if it was heavy, drop it on me, man. I'm here for that.